Hello, and welcome to A Body in Progress. Today's episode, Why We Eat. Anything that functions in this world uses energy. It burns up its energy supply. And therefore, in order to keep functioning, it needs a fresh supply of energy.
In order for the stove to boil my water so I can cook my oatmeal in the morning, it has to have energy flowing into it, specifically electricity coming into the hot coils. The resistance then turns it into heat, the heat boils the water, and I can cook my oatmeal. In order for my DVD player, yes, I still have one, to play my favorite movies, it has to have electricity flowing into it. It then uses that electricity, it turns it into energy that operates all of the moving parts and gets my favorite movies playing. Best movie ever. In order for the engine of a car to run, it must have a constant source of fuel, gasoline, that enables the combustion to occur. And as that combustion occurs, it burns up the gasoline, and so more gasoline is needed.
This same scientific principle applies to the human body as well, indeed to everything that we call life on Earth. Life is, at the atomic and molecular level, nothing more than just a really complex machine. My body and your body really are, in a way, just like the car and the stove and the DVD player, only with an immensely increased number of parts and complexity. And as those parts move, as they go about their functions, they are burning up energy and they need a fresh supply. I'll take just a moment to get uselessly technical about it because you might encounter some of these terms, especially if you do get serious about better fitness, weight loss, and muscle building. And special thanks to Dr. Eric Valenti for clarifying some of this information for me. Dr. Eric Valenti happens to be the son of Dr. Mark Valenti, who I had in the episode discussing the purpose and function of muscle. Anyway, you have flowing through your body an energy source called adenosine triphosphate, which is a compound consisting of an adenosine molecule bonded to 3 phosphate groups present in all living tissue. The breakage of one phosphate linkage provides energy for physiological processes such as muscular contraction. Adenosine triphosphate is then, in a sense, the gasoline that fuels your body. All of the functions going on in your body, including muscle contraction, are powered by adenosine triphosphate, ATP. And it has 3 ions as part of its compound, hence the tri. That is used for everything, including the small muscle contractions like my fingers and the larger muscle contractions, or relatively larger, like my bicep, which I hope to make larger someday. But as it uses the ATP, one of those ions breaks off, leaving you with 2 ions and therefore a compound called adenosine diphosphate, ADP. The purpose of consuming food, the basic purpose, the most foundational one, is to replenish that 3rd ion and bring more ATP into play in the body so that your body can continue functioning. All of that is an introduction to the bigger topic of what to eat and why. What kinds of foods are going to help me build muscle? What kinds of foods are going to help my internal organs function better? What kinds of foods are going to help me avoid putting on excessive body fat? Here to help answer that question is today's guest, who will receive a proper introduction in the actual interview footage that I filmed a few days ago. I'm here with a gentleman that I met about 10 years ago through MySpace, and right there about half of my audience went, "What?" Anyway, in my encounters with him online as a teenage competitive bodybuilder and as someone who was very studious even at that age on the subject of weightlifting and how to build muscle and how to fuel muscle through proper nutrition. I learned very quickly in watching him interact online with other people that he was an endless wealth of knowledge. And in fact, if you came at him with something you thought was going to be a simple yes or no answer, he would then take 30 minutes to fully educate you on exactly what it is you should know. And in the 10 years since then, we've become pretty good friends, and I've learned a lot, and I probably still need to learn a lot more, and it's a shame we're not neighbors. But anyway, I have with me today to discuss the very basic beginnings of our nutritional topic, Mr. Bradley Barrett. So welcome to A Body in Progress.
Howdy. Thank you.
I'm not kidding about Bradley's elaborate answers. As much as I tried to feed him very simple questions in that interview, his answers expanded into some very technical information that go beyond the scope of at least this episode. And I don't say that as a criticism or a put down. He is a very intelligent person and very well studied in the subject of nutrition and the subject of weight building. I definitely plan to call on him in the future and learn more from him, even just for myself, even if I don't get it on camera. And a lot of what I won't show you today, I will still keep and take notes from and probably bring it into play later. But what you're going to see today is what I could pull out of this 45-minute conversation that relates to getting me and you started on the path to better and proper and good nutrition. And so here are the relevant parts of that interview with Bradley Barrett. All right, so the question today, or the subject today, is basically Nutrition 101. You've got somebody who knows nothing, and he wants to get into a better body. He wants to build more muscle, and he wants to lose fat. The big topic there, or the starting topic, at least to my mind, from everything I've learned, is the subject of macronutrients. What are they, and what do they do?
So the three macronutrients that are important to what we're going to talk about are protein, carbohydrates, and fats. The proteins are the building blocks of muscle. Carbohydrates are used mainly for energy, and then the fats are used in many processes, mostly the brain function and certain other things like that, long-term energy. So, yeah, three main: protein, carbohydrates, and fats or lipids. So.
Okay. And I have been introduced to those before. This will be good for the audience, but it'll also just kind of help refresh me. Proteins then are proteins provide the actual substance and mass to the muscles. Is that a safe?
Yeah, the muscles are, the muscular cells are built off of the proteins, and basically, the action of hypertrophy or hypertrophy, however you want to say it, of muscle growth takes muscle synthesis takes protein, and then the energy is provided through carbs. And so, the proteins are important to have, if you're trying to grow or volumize the muscles, depending on, which aspect you're trying to do. Proteins probably the most important.
Where does a person find proteins?
Proteins, meat, there's various forms of whey, protein supplementation. It doesn't necessarily have to be from meat or any animal source. There's the vegan movement's really big right now, so there's a lot of possibilities in the plant-based proteins, which are they're almost used to be nothing from in terms of especially protein powders and things like that. The amino acid profiles on them were trash, certain things like that, but they're starting to come around in terms of the quality of the protein, certain things. And the big one is, for instance, my mom is allergic to, certain things, can't do whey protein. There's, there's tons of different types of protein out there now that, if you have a sensitivity to certain things like that, you can definitely try. And so, yeah, protein, plant-based, animal-based, eggs, meat, various things like that.
Is there a preference to meat? Because I hear chicken among just about every weightlifter I know. They are buying chicken breasts in the Costco size bags, the restaurant size bags at cash and carry. Are you agree with that general idea? Chicken's a great source.
Yeah, chicken's a real lean meat. I'm a red meat guy. I eat primarily red meat. I don't like chicken anymore. I ate chicken and tilapia boiled and grilled for 7 months straight, for a bodybuilding competition. Chicken is cheap, and that's the primary reason. Tilapia was pretty expensive until, I don't know, a few years ago. I think that's probably dropped in price, but tilapia is pretty rough to eat a lot. It's a pretty fishy meat, or pretty fishy fish, fishy flavor. And red meat, you're 5+ a pound easily, unless you're eating an 80-20 hamburger and then 20% goes away, and you might as well buy 90-10 or something like that. So chicken is really cheap in the amount that it takes to intake, 180, 220, 240, grams a day. The bigger bodybuilders are eating 400 plus a day. So if you're going to try and put down, for instance, I was eating 3 pounds of meat a day leading up to the bodybuilding contest because protein was high, carbs were moderate, and then cycled, and then fat was basically non-existent, which is a bad idea. But when you're eating, you can buy 75 pounds of chicken at $1.80 a pound, or at least that's what I was doing back then. Yeah, you can cook a lot of chicken, but
getting it all down,
gets you a little bit.
It's a little rough.
Yeah, it's pretty good protein. It's higher in the grams of protein per ounce, so pretty high. So you get a lot of protein density. So that's kind of the reason why they do it. And then it's a lean protein. So when you're cutting for a competition, that and white fish and stuff like that is really easy to do. So that's the reason, mostly the reason why people do chicken.
Okay. I know from the few times that I've actually tried calculating my calories and reading nutrition labels that carbohydrates seem to be the thing that is everywhere. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what you pick up. Yeah. It's carbohydrates. So the few times I've had a trainer say, I need you on low carbs, it's been a chore. Yeah. So where can we find carbohydrates? And briefly, I know that there are different types, mm-hmm. and there are preferred types of carbs. Even when you're on a low carb diet, mm-hmm. you want certain kinds. Mm-hmm. Where do we find carbs besides the word everywhere? Mm-hmm. And what is it we want to be healthy?
Yeah. So,
I should time him.
Yeah, healthy is a relative term.
Okay, all right. So skip that part of the question. Yeah,
but
where do we find carbs?
Yeah, so carbs, you can look up online. There's if you look up glycemic index, there's a ton of lists of different sources of carbohydrates, and then they're rated on a index of how fast they digest, basically. So, and then as a correlation, how high the insulin spike is. So, associated with them, high glycemic, higher insulin spike; low glycemic, very low to no insulin spike. So, generally on the bodybuilding style diet, glycolytic diet, you want to stick with a low glycemic carb, which is oatmeal, whole grains, things like that. Is brown rice is a good one. There's fruits. A lot of people like going with the fruit side of things. It tends to be a medium glycemic carb, a little higher insulin spike. There is some, other nutritional value in them in terms of vitamins, minerals, but it's not really that. You would have to eat a lot of them to get what people say, oh yeah, there's a lot of, vitamin C in oranges, which there is, but, you can supplement with vitamin C, and, so you can even superdose vitamin C. There's some write-ups on that too for other things, but you can get it in other ways that are more efficient and less detrimental to your nutrition plan by spiking insulin too high and storing carbohydrates into fat. So low glycemic carbohydrates are what you want to look for. Look them up online. Tons of possibilities, places to go. Beans, okay. Certain legumes, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Which brings us then to fats. Mm-hmm. Since we do actually want some, and we need to dispel the myth that consuming fats are what make you fat, mm-hmm. Where do we find good fats?
Fats. A lot of things have fat in them, especially meat. If you eat red meat, fattier fish, salmon, stuff like that. Omega-3 fats are ideal, but it's tough to eat enough fish to get anywhere near what you want to get to fat stores. And supplementing with omega-3s is pretty rough, no matter how you look at it.
What do you think about the stereotypical list of things? I think avocados are on that list. Is it walnuts or
nuts? Pretty much in general. Okay. Yeah, walnuts are high in. I think it's omega.
Or no, almonds. Almonds is what I meant.
Yeah,
but
I don't really like almonds, but if you like almonds,
just in terms of taste or in terms of nutrition.
Yeah, just in taste. But
okay.
Nuts are a little harder to digest, so you need to be supplementing with fiber. That's another one. Is fiber is kind of the fourth macronutrient that nobody really pays attention to.
Okay.
But,
all right. So we need to add a fourth macronutrient.
Yeah.
We're going to put it in parentheses. Macronutrient parentheses fiber.
Yeah.
Let's talk about fiber then. What is it and what does it do? And
so there's insoluble and soluble fiber. Both are good, and you want both of them. Fiber, you need 25 to 35 grams a day. Most people only take in 10 to 15 max, and that's people, you think, oh man, I'm eating a lot of carbs and things like that. They should have a lot of fiber. I don't think rice, even the brown rice, doesn't have a whole lot of fiber in it. So basically what that means is you need to supplement with fiber pretty much regardless of what the diet you're on. So I supplement with, there's a number of different ways to do it, ways to get fiber. For instance, lettuce has like a gram or two per 2 cups, which is a huge thing of lettuce. So even though it seems like it would be fibrous, have a lot of fiber, there's not that much in there.
Well, you've mentioned you say this doesn't have a lot, this doesn't have a lot. Is there something other that does have a lot?
Not really.
Okay.
Supplementation, yeah. Okay. That's the problem. The vast majority of people need to be supplementing with fiber, and that's a big one. It's not that fiber is a laxative. Fiber makes everything work or function properly. It keeps everything, the processes going, and it will help the nutrients absorb better into the digest into the intestine and stuff like that. It basically helps regulate the digestive system. So
all right, I need to cut in and say we are just about out of time for this episode. So just to wrap up what we heard today, that was lesson 1 on better nutrition, healthier eating, focused on the macronutrients, the proteins which provide the building blocks for the muscle, the carbohydrates which provide the energy, the fats which provide all kinds of functions, and also the fiber, not always considered a macronutrient by bodybuilders, but very important. One closing word from me and Brad. We've been talking today to my friend and a former bodybuilder competitor and currently an automotive overhaul specialist, and I might add star of my prize-winning film, Dumb Jocks, Mr. Bradley Barrett, who, by the way, despite your injury and not working out for 5 years, you still fill out a shirt quite nicely.
Yeah.
I very much am looking forward to the day when, I like my profile in a shirt. But anyway, thank you for coming by. I'm sure we'll have you back, time permitting.
Yeah.
I know you're on a job hunt right now, so you might suddenly end up busy and in demand, but we'll see if we can squeeze him in on other topics as well as more information on nutrition because, as we've already learned, this is a topic that goes on and on and on. But we, however, are on a time limit, so thank you for tuning in to episode 6 of A Body in Progress.